It's November the 22nd. I'm Maureen Brown, and I'm interviewing the members of the Gold City Pipe Band.
It's Shannon Lloyd I live in Warfield now, born and raised in Rossland.
And when did you start piping?
I started piping in 1969 when I turned 10. I didn't know anything about piping at all, and my mom said, you have a choice, you have the accordion or the pipes. I said, well, I'll take the pipes. And the next Tuesday night, Mr. Eccles was at the front door, probably 6:45.
And you, Tom Still, right?
Tom Still, yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. You guys had your chanters. Okay, Shawn?
Shawn Gresley-Jones, born in Rossland. I started piping, how old are you? Well, probably 71 or 72, can't remember, grade 7. Got my first pipes when I was 13, went to one practice with the trail band, and then came to the Rossland pipe band when Bram quit down there.
Jim?
Excuse me, my name is Jim Albo. I'm born and raised in Rossland. I started to play with the Trail Pipe Band in 1962, and I'm still playing with them at the present time. And when Bram decided to come to Rossland, I played for Rossland as well for a short time, couple of years, and then ended up back in Trail. So.
I'm Peter Laycock. I was actually born and raised in Trail. I think I started around age 8 or 9, maybe 9 or 10. So that would have been 72, 73. And I just recall practicing. I learned from Bram Eccles, and it was the basement of a building in downtown Trail. I just remember it was kind of a dark, danky building, and I also remember Bram used to smoke, and he'd put the cigarette at the end of the table, and he would teach, and the cigarette would continue burning, and but that was my sort of the bits and pieces I do remember.
Okay.
Was that the basement of the Union Hotel?
I don't know. Either that or the basement of the Eagles. Remember we used to play in the basement of the Eagles?
When I was going, it was the basement of Shoppers Drug Mart. And we went downstairs at the basement of Shoppers Drug Mart, and we practiced there for the first 3 or 4 years I played. Practiced. That's when Bram was teaching for the Trail Pipe Band.
So Bill Burns always
I remember the Eagles.
Yeah. Well, excuse me, when I started, we practiced next to the funeral parlor in the hall right there where the sewing center is now.
Oh yeah.
And we used to practice in there. And then we had chanter practice in the Legion downtown where Lordco is at the present time. So we practiced chanters in the top floor there for
That's
quite a
where
few
the
years.
band kept all their stuff up there.
Yes.
I remember they had a hall, right? The Trail Pipe Band had a hall right where the parking lot is against the bank where the stairs go up to Cominco. They had a hall right there. Great big, beautiful hall with a kitchen and everything in it.
That was
the
behind
Caledonian
where
Society?
the nurses' residence used to be.
Yeah.
You know, when you start up the stairs to Cominco, there was a hall there. And we had that hall for quite a few years, actually.
Did you just rent it, or did you own
No, it was Trail Pipe Band's hall.
It was
Yeah.
donated by Cominco, I think.
Oh.
You know, and in those days, they supplied the heat because the steam heat went to the Legion as well as there, and originally to the nurses' home.
And all the uniforms and all the stores were up on the top of the Legion building. I remember Marie McKenzie's dad taking me up there for my very first uniform. I didn't even know how to put it on. Never had a kilt on in my life. Or
In the
anything.
Legion? The Legion
The
across?
old brick Legion, where Lordco is
Where
now.
Lordco is.
Remember that big brick building used to be there? Yeah.
I don't remember. But so you stored all your kilts above there, and then you had the hall, and that's where all your drums and stuff.
This was all a trail band though, not
Yeah,
that's
the
true.
when Brown was teaching, Brown
Brown
was
was
doing all the
teaching.
teaching.
Yes.
Well, I read in the thing too that the Rossland, who was it? Bill Burns? He also
Yes. Yeah.
he taught.
Bill
right?
taught in Trail as well.
Right.
When I was learning, Bill taught me, and so did Bram, both of them. So and that would have been, like I said, 1962, 63,
Oh,
so
holy. So
it's a few
What
years.
what year did Bill Burns retire? Because I think I only played a couple of parades when he was a pipe major and then Brown took over.
I'm gonna say
71 or
Shannon
something?
in the 70s. I can't remember whether Bill was actually at Expo when this kerfuffle took place. I have a feeling that he wasn't, so he would have been done in the early 70s, I think.
Yeah.
because he moved to the coast.
Bill,
Yeah.
yes.
Because I was in a youth crew camp in grade 10, and one of the girls that I was at school with married him, or at camp at Mount Robson married him. She was from Courtney.
Not him.
Junior, Bill Burns Jr.
Maybe his
She-
dad.
She played in the pipe band. He played in the pipe band.
That would be,
Yeah,
that
that
was
was his son.
that would be Bill Jr. Yeah, and Bill Sr. moved there as well on to Vancouver Island.
Oh, okay.
Unless she married a guy 40 years older than him,
Well,
like 50
I think he
maybe.
was older. So you guys, you had Bill teaching first, and then Brown was teaching as well, or?
Mhm, yes.
And then there was a bit of a problem, and all of a sudden the Rossland Pipe Band was formed.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And so did people from the Trail Pipe Band come up to Rossland?
Yes, I believe when Bram decided to leave Trail and move to Rossland, he took quite a few of the younger fellows, such as these three gentlemen here with him.
Well,
And,
like I said, I went to one practice with the Trail Pipe Band when Bram had his falling out.
yeah,
And then we started in Rossland. Yeah, that was early 74.
74 after Expo
And,
74, yeah.
And then it was, I remember playing in or practicing in the Legion, because I know the Rossland Legion got together and they bought all of the drums, I believe, for the Golden City Pipe Band.
I think
The
you're
bass- I know the bass drum for sure, and I think they bought the side drums and maybe the tenor drums. And then there was, I think, a few of the other, probably I don't know who else in Rossland, other groups, but there was other groups that helped out too.
Donated, actually, in this paperwork that I have here,
I
It
think
shows-
it's in this article too.
it shows a
so-
list of
Susan was a big
donations.
supporter, I remember her.
In 1976, it shows, where they got some of their money from. And this was a financial statement from November 1st, 76 to August 31st, 77 by Bill Ferguson. Do you remember Bill? He was
Oh,
the
yeah,
treasurer
yeah.
then. And
He lived in Warfield.
Yeah,
Marcy
that's-
and Bev,
And
Yeah.
Bev played in the band.
Bev played in the band, yeah.
yes, she did, yeah. And your mother was a secretary, I believe, wasn't she, or vice president?
I remember my parents raising money through, that
It's-
was when BC Lottery.
Yeah,
started.
my mom and your mom sold lottery tickets forever. It says here in this article, the band committee consisted of Wally Batoria as president, Amy Laycock, vice president, Bill Ferguson as secretary treasurer, Bram Eccles was pipe major, and John Batoria was leading side drum.
Yep.
And in here it said the other people that donated, said the Legion supplied money for the drums, and further help was given by the Lions Club and the IODE.
So what about the uniforms? When did you get?
Well, we didn't have uniforms the first year or so that we played, first year maybe, and then Bram had given us all like tartan patterns and pick a tartan, so we picked Macbeth. And then I think we got our uniforms fairly soon after.
I see,
So-
A clip from, I think it was the Golden City days.
Yeah, Golden City's piped in.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that you guys,
And
That
we
was
had
pre-uniform days.
pre-uniform. Oh, okay, yeah.
yeah. Peter's, excuse me,
Okay.
Peter's mother wrote a letter on October 1st to the executive director of BC Cultural Program,
I'm sorry.
and was requesting uniform stuff, or excuse me, funds to buy uniforms. So that would be late 1975. So you probably had them in 76. I think, I remember having my uniform, and then when Bram gave me the ultimatum and I decided to stay with Trail, he sent Mrs. Ferguson to my house to collect the uniform. I remember her coming.
Really?
Yeah,
But didn't you have to buy the kilts?
no, it was all theirs.
Because there's a receipt,
See that one?
there's a receipt for your kilt.
I remember, if I recall,
Oh, yeah.
it was purchased, we raised money for it. I remember at the high school, at the time,
That's going back.
it was at Rossland High School. My mother and I can't remember who else were measuring everyone for the kilts and. Didn't we just get the kilts first and then?
So when was this?
Yeah,
Yes.
that picture here.
I believe you did.
It doesn't have a
Kilts and
date,
no
eh?
jackets, no, I wish I had the date on there.
Then you got the
That one's
jackets.
got a date
Yes.
on
It
it.
does, yeah.
With before, it has no, we have no kid, no uniform.
I would think we got uniforms in 75 or 76 for sure.
Yeah,
by
I think, John,
76.
from this
Prince
letter, I
Charlie
would think,
jackets.
I think early
We were
76.
This is
Skyline.
1975, and you aren't wearing, you're wearing jeans.
Yeah. I think it was 76, according to this letter requesting money.
Oh, okay. Cool.
76, so you'd been playing for 2 years before you got the
Or, yeah, a
but
year
you
and a half
got all,
anyway.
so everybody had to buy their own bagpipes,
Yes.
and then you had people buy the drums.
Yep.
And so Mr. Victoria, did he play in trail too?
No, Wally did.
Wally did.
John did.
John did. I can't remember Wally played the bass and trail for a while or
He
not.
did, yeah.
I think he did.
Yeah, he
I
did.
believe he played the bass for us in trail for a while.
I know John's in Toronto, but last I heard from him.
So they both came up and played at the
Yes.
Rossland and Golden City.
Yeah.
So once you start, when it started, you started practicing in Rossland, and you practiced where?
I remember practicing in the drill hall.
Yeah, the girl hall was the one I remember.
That's
Yeah.
where I remember too.
Yeah,
It was
that's-
twice a week. There was chanter practice and there was pipe practice.
Yeah.
And wasn't chanter practice like Monday or Tuesday? And that was, I recall, in the high school. And then the drill hall was for pipe practice, pipe and marching too.
We
Yes.
play downstairs with
I kind of
In
think
the
the same.
cafeteria down
In the
below?
cafeteria below, Peter, that we
Yeah, I
practiced
think so.
chanters and then
That's
went
what I
upstairs
remember
for our
too.
pipes. I seem to remember that part of it.
Maybe that was it. You were downstairs in the cafeteria?
Cafeteria.
Well, there was a time we were in high school though, I remember that. It was in the far end, on Jubilee, closest to our house on that end. There was this room in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so then when you practiced the pipes, did you how did you do that with marching?
At the drill hall.
At
Yeah,
the drill hall.
so every practice did you march or?
Yeah.
Pretty well, yes. Yeah.
So Peter was showing me some music when I played with the Golden City Fiddlers, and all the fiddlers learn by ear. Did you guys learn like that, or did you have music, or?
Well, we had the
Music, sheet
music
music.
for chanter practice for sure. And then, of course, you have to memorize it all because you can't carry music when you're playing on the
Actually,
street, so.
I remember Bradley telling me one time, I don't care if you know the music, you know the tune or not, when you practice, you have the sheet music in front of you when you're practicing.
Exactly. Shannon, I
All
remember
the
that
time.
same thing. Never practice without your music.
Yeah.
I recall the turnaround time was pretty fast. Like you'd learn it 1 week and maybe a week or 2 weeks later, we'd be trying it on pipes too.
Well, it's an acquired skill, right?
Yeah.
Memorizing music. It takes me a long time to memorize a tune, but I know lots of people can play a tune 3 or 4 times and they
Yeah,
memorize it.
it seems to be there.
It's a learned skill for sure.
Okay, so how long did it take before you had 20 people in that band? How long did that take before you had that many people?
That probably wasn't until about 76 or 77 that we had that many, and then it was shortly after that is when we started to lose people because people were getting older and going on to bigger and better things. Because I know, you went away to where did you go to, Shannon?
Oh, in the late 70s there, I went completely crazy, but I was working at Tech in 77.
Oh, okay.
And I was down to the coast taken a bricklayer apprenticeship
Yeah.
in '80, so.
Yeah, and I left in late '79 because I was playing lacrosse, and it was interfering with lacrosse.
Remember that time we had that little, we played down the States, just you and me?
Yeah,
And you had a
Newport.
brand new truck?
Where was that? Newport.
Newport.
Yeah.
And that was with the Fiddler, or the Golden City.
Well, I
Well, it
was
was, I don't know.
just Shannon and I. It was for some dude down in Newport, Washington. We went down.
Oh.
We went to lots of different stuff. Like I went to Caslow with Bram for the christening of the Moyer when they did the Moyer. So Bram and I went and we played there for several different things. And then Shannon and I did Newport, Washington. I remember being invited. We went over, Bram and I went to Kimberley once for
They had a Highland tattoo.
Went to
there.
Wenatchee, didn't we, the band?
the
Or was
band.
that the trail band?
No,
No,
I
it's
don't think.
Wenatchee Peters in the picture.
No, we didn't, we never went to Wenatchee. No, when I was in there, excuse me, with the trail pipe band, we never went to Wenatchee.
Oh, no, this is Chihuahua.
Yeah, we went to Chihuahua,
Chihuahua.
but I don't remember going to Wenatchee.
Yeah.
But what do you call it, Tri-Cities down there, Richmond?
Yeah, because my sister taught the dancers.
Oh, you know what? You did go, and I missed because that's
the
right when I
desert
was
down there.
leaving.
Yeah.
So it looks like.
Silverton was a big one too.
What did you do in Silverton?
At the loggers, whatever, was it their May
May
Days?
Days,
or something?
May Days. We went every year to New Denver. We were invited. Yeah, we played
Silverton
at
or New Denver?
New Denver.
Oh.
Yeah, and we come across the bridge into the park, and then I remember, I guess the committee there would give everybody enough to buy a hamburger and stuff, and we'd go have a hamburger, and then once we got old enough, some of us would go play at the Silverton pub
Yeah.
after.
Okay, so I have that 1977, it was the Kimberley Highland tattoo. It said in it that you weren't a competition band yet, so, but you did compete, I think.
No, we never
Never
competed
got
as a
there.
band.
I think it was a dream of Bram's that never
Came.
materialized. I think that was part of his reason for starting out in his own band too, because he wanted something a little bit higher up than just a street parade type band, right?
But the trail band
He knew there was
competed.
more to piping than.
Yes,
You guys competed.
yes. They competed at Nelson. Used to have the Highland Games every year in the park there, and not in Lakeview Park, but Lakeside Park, but behind the theater and the arena.
That was under Bram though.
Sorry?
That was under Bram though.
Yes,
Yeah.
Bram and Bill Burns. And Trail won
And
quite a
Trail.
few times. They had an excellent band then, We had an excellent band up until the split in '74. Actually, when you take a look at the picture and it shows how many people were in your band at that time, plus what we had, we were probably looking at a combined band of, I would say, at least 25. And unfortunately, when this happened, we lost a lot of the young members. Well,
Just
such
about
as the
all of
three
them.
gentlemen right here, yeah. Yeah, we didn't retain anybody that was, I don't think we retained anybody that was under about 18 or 19.
Yeah, because there was, when people taking chanter practice from Bram, then it go to the trail pipe band, as I remember it. There was yourself, Peter. You had just started. There was Bev Ferguson, Brenda Pellini,
Mm-hmm.
Ernie Roberts, Mark McCauley, and myself. Yeah, taking lessons, and then, like I say, I went to one band practice, and then that was the end of that. Then Bram asked if I'd be interested in going to start a pipe band in Rossland. I thought, well, it's closer, why not?
I remember you used to practice outside your house.
Oh, yes. I was talking to Celia about that on the way up here when I was competing. I said, the neighbors must have wanted to throw rocks at me because I used to march up and down the front lawn and play the same march, spay and reel about 300,000 times before I'd go compete.
Yeah. Did you all go to different, like Peter went to the Calgary School of Piping and Drumming? Did you do that? Did you go to any of those?
To the one in Nelson, when,
I went to the one in Nelson
I think
also.
71 and 72 and 73 when they were first starting out. And it's funny, I should have bought a picture. I got an old newspaper clipping of that. And there was, Donald McLeod was one of the best in the world. He used to come over, they got him over from Scotland to teach it at school. And if you look at the old pictures, some of them you can pick out, there's top-notch pipers, well, mostly from down the coast. To this day are still famous pipers that are in that picture. It's, I should have bought it with me.
Yeah, I've got a picture from 73 when I went there.
Well, you said that Brownie was quite
Al
good,
McLeod and all them guys.
an advanced piper, right?
Oh,
That he came
Brown?
from- Yeah.
When he came to play in trail and came right from Scotland, I would think that Brown was probably second or third in the world at that time. Don't you think so?
Well, I don't know about that, but if
was-
he had went,
He
if
was
he
a
had,
pretty goddamn good piper.
he was definitely a
Yeah.
professional club. If he had emigrated to Vancouver and got involved in the Scottish pipe band scene down there and all that, he would have been famous. He would have been
Yeah.
really, really well known.
Yeah. And he was, Army trains. He was really excellent piper and a great teacher. I mean, look at all the fellows that he taught and got to be very, very good pipers.
He was an amazing player. He really was.
Yeah, he was a really amazing player, and he was devoted too. You think when just from the Golden City Pipe Band, when I started there, he was teaching, and then he was trying to get the band going, and then doing band practices and juggling his own life. And then when people were getting bagpipes like myself, I got a used set of pipes that needed a new bag, so Bram brought my pipes down to where he worked at Tech, and tied in a new bag, and it was, he spent hours and hours and
No doubt about
hours
it.
with
Yeah.
piping and with us, like the Rossland band, and I'm sure he spent just as much time when he was doing it with the trail band. And yeah, he was pretty devoted, and like I say, I remember when I started to compete, going down to Bram's after, like, we'd have chanter practice on, like you say, Tuesdays or whenever, and pipe band practice on Wednesdays, and then I would go down to Bram's 3 days a week on top of that when I was competing. And on weekends, and
No doubt about it. He spent an awful lot of time when
he was a pretty devoted man.
he certainly was, and he had 3 children
Yeah,
and a wife and a job at Kaminko that was shift work, and but he was a dedicated individual.
One thing that sticks out in my mind was when we were still going down the hill a trip to trail when you're born and raised in Rossland 10 years ago. A trip to trail was a pretty big deal, really. It was the big city. And every Tuesday night, 6:45, Bram would be out front, that old Chevelle, brown Chevelle he is. It didn't matter if it was snowing or he was there, like clockwork. And that was in the front, I'd climb in the back, off we go to trail the band.
Wow. So when
And
that
he
played,
never
then
missed a beat.
Brownlee played
Yes.
drums, and then I didn't know was there an older child too?
Yes, the older
Margaret, wasn't it?
Margaret never played,
no,
but young Bram played, even though he, after that car accident, kind of didn't help his situation health-wise, but he did play with you guys and played the tenor drum, didn't he?
yeah,
Yeah,
played the
that's
tenor
right,
for
he did.
years.
He played the tenor drum for quite a while, which was excellent for him to do that. But
I run into Bram every once in a while.
yeah, I see him down trail once or I used to see him hitchhiking when he was working at the ski hill. But
I was thinking, oh, Joe Sisson used to play too.
He was drums, yeah.
Listen, yeah.
yeah,
Jay Page was drums, Jerry Waite,
Oh, Jerry Wage played.
Yeah.
too. He was drums too?
drums.
you
And
had
then Randy Peebles was our bass drummer.
and you had Pinky McIntyre played for a while, didn't he?
Pinky
Played side-
McIntyre played side drum for a while.
Yeah,
Yeah, only for about a year.
yeah, not for very long.
Yeah,
Did Bill Thompson ever play for you guys as
No.
well?
no, he never came up.
He didn't,
He
eh?
threatened to come up, but he didn't.
Yeah. I thought maybe he would have in the later years, but
Yeah, no, he never came up. I know Bram wanted him to.
I know he did, yeah. I thought he would have because he and Bram were quite thick, but
Yeah.
So you mentioned one time about, was it going to a tattoo and then you all went out on the field together and you had to play something?
It was an arena.
Oh, that was at Kimberley.
Kimberly.
And Bram was paranoid because we didn't know the basic march that they were going to play at the tattoo, so we all had to learn it that day. It was a pretty simple march, so it wasn't that big a deal.
But there was 2 different ways you could play it too, and because not all the songs were, there were some notes different in them. I remember, I think one of them. So when we played it versus others, maybe we were off a little.
Or was that just that some people were making a few mistakes?
Well, we were kind of, as you stated, we kind of
the variation, that's called, Sean.
Yes.
We learned on the fly.
Bergieisms.
Like, here's the music. You got 10 minutes to learn it.
Yeah.
Well, to this very day, there's 2 ways to play Song the Brave, and people are still arguing about it.
Yes, that's right. You're right, Shannon. When did you guys pack up the band?
I was long gone when it
Do you remember,
See,
Sean?
well, I quit,
dissolved.
but the band folded in 1981.
I was going to think it was about 1980, early 80s, so it was 81, you think?
That's what it says in this book, anyway.
Oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
None of you were in the band at that time.
I wasn't, I was gone.
by then.
no.
No, well, I don't think so.
Yeah, it says in here, a group of Highland dancers under Gail Vetter, Annette Eccles, and Andrea Laycock became an integral part of the band, accompanied the members to many trips. Since Rossland doesn't offer much opportunity for young people, ranks of the band had been depleted by 1981 and it sadly disbanded.
Okay.
And it says it was 1974 to 1981, which I would think was
7
right.
years, yeah.
Because I would have quit, like I say, late 79.
It was unfortunate because, you guys had a great band, and
Yeah.
when we used to see you in the parade, or whatever it was,
But it was a young
Played
band,
very well.
as we sort of basically stated.
it was.
It was,
All beginners,
it was the majority of the people were fairly young. And
That's right. I don't think you had a member other than Bram and, Pinky was gone by then, that was
Well-
over 20.
Well, Shannon and I were the oldest for a while, and Annette. Annette would have been the oldest, and then you, and then me, and yourself, and you played for a
Well,
couple
yeah, when I
years.
was playing, yeah.
So
There was-
weren't there other younger people starting? Nobody,
Well, no,
Not sure what it was.
I don't remember any new people ever starting chanter with Bram. I just don't remember. It must have happened, but
yeah, I remember a couple of them. But the thing, what happened is that the number of people, let's say retiring from the band, moving on in life, going to schools, university, elsewhere, and the number of new people coming in, I think there's quite a discrepancy there. So we lost that critical mass, and
Yeah.
maybe lost most of the drummers, or there just wasn't enough people to carry it on to be a band.
right?
It's pretty hard to have a band of 3.
yeah.
Well, yeah, John Vittoria was the lead drummer, and he was a year older than me, so he would have been gone too.
Yes. Yeah.
So then, once it disbanded, did some of them go back to trail?
Yes.
They did.
Yeah. Rico came back to trail, Don McKinnon. Shannon came back.
When I came back from the coast, that was almost,
Bram actually,
almost,
his
1990.
intention was to come back, and he did. It took quite a few years, but he came, and then unfortunately, was very shortly thereafter, he got killed in that accident in Deer Park, Washington.
I was looking, when I was going through this, looking for stuff in my junk, I've got a thing from his funeral, I think it was 93,
Yep.
that he got killed.
Yeah,
Going to the bingo.
yes.
Yeah, and it, was
Very
before,
Chuila.
and it was before that his wife had had some
She had a
ailments
stroke,
too, a
yeah,
stroke.
bad
Yeah, she had a heart surgery.
Well, she was gone by then.
And they,
She
like,
was
so
already
Bram
dead.
was looking after her for years and years and
Yeah,
years,
she
and then
was-
she passed away. And then Bram was, going to play bingo in Spokane and got killed in a car accident.
Yeah. Yeah.
Surely, well, probably in around 1990. I was back into piping pretty hard and competing and everything. And all these new things were coming out in the piping market with the new bags and stuff and all that. And they had, the bag where the air reservoir goes. It used to be traditionally either sheepskin or cowhide. Gore-Tex. They got these Gore-Tex pipe bags, a modern thing. They got plastic drone reeds and Gore-Tex bags. And Brown, you got to try it. We'll get you this bag. Okay, bet. So we ordered up this Gore-Tex bag for Brown, and I took his pipes. He was still playing and all, but I'll put it on for you, Brown, and all that. So I took his pipes and I put this Gore-Tex bag on, got him going, and he had a gorgeous set of silver and ivory pipes. Beautiful set of pipes. Anyway, I got them all going. I took him back up to his house and left him there for him to play. And about a week later, the phone rings. It's Brad. He says, "You still got my old bag?" I said, "Yeah, it's right here, Brad." He says, "Come on, get these pipes and put my old bag back on." It's okay. So that was a fail. The Gore-Tex bag, as far as Brad concerned, was a fail.
Because those bags, they were from sheep? Were they? Was it?
Or elk.
The traditional pipe bags were sheep bags. Sheep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the elk
Sheep
hide was
was
a
elk,
big thing, yeah.
Well, they claimed it was elk hide, but it was cow hide.
Yeah,
And then you had to soften them, right? 'Cause
Season.
yours
Yeah.
are.
yeah, with that bag dressing that smelled
Stunk.
awful.
Still use it today.
That was awful stuff.
Same
But it
stuff.
did the job,
It sealed them up, right? For
You're playing outside.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So, when you were marching, was it really hard to march and play? And you're going up hills and it's cold.
well, when you're 18 years old.
No. I guess not.
I recall we did marching without playing, sort of basic, and then we started playing. So I think at the very beginning, we would be at the drill hall and just do basic without, and sometimes we'd do fancy maneuvers, we'd form circles, and we'd do that without playing, and Bram would run us through that a number of times. And then once we got that done, we'd put music to it, and probably we would end up in a bit of a mess, but we kind of got it after a while.
Yeah, it wasn't only learning how to play the music, what you, on your practice chanter, but when you got your pipes, you had to coordinate your breathing, your arm movements, still keep playing and march.
Yeah.
And a lot of people had a great deal of difficulty with that marching business. Used to be really funny to watch some of them. So it took a while to get used to it. And so that's why I believe we used to march every practice at band practice, like with pipes. Very seldom we ever just stood. I mean, we did maybe in a circle for a bit, but generally it was all marching,
Were the bagpipes heavy to carry?
No. What would they weigh? 8 pounds?
Yeah, and I think once they got rid of the elk hide bag and went to Gore-Tex,
Yeah,
they even
even
got a
lighter.
little bit lighter, because there's virtually no weight in the bag anymore. It's just in your drones. And if you have silver mounts, they're heavier. And then Gordy and Trail had a set of gold mounts. They were, gold plated. And those pipes are extremely heavy. Do you ever play Gordy's gold mounted ones? I wouldn't want to pack them.
They
Gordon
need tuning.
Tisworth? You're talking
They
about
need good tuning.
Gordon Tisworth? Is that who you're talking about?
You gotta
I'm sorry?
tune 'em.
Gordon Tisworth?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah, so he still has them, but they're very heavy. But other than that,
So those are the ones he plays at Robbie Burns night.
he has that set, and he has a set of ivories as well.
No matter what, man, we can't do
He
it.
kind of switches back and forth,
Okay.
yeah.
So you got it, because I wear Peter's uniform for Robbie Burns, and it's hot. And then I can't imagine you're outside, it's hot, and you're marching, and you're playing, and you got this heavy outfit on. Weren't you cooking? And when you guys in trail, you've got that big
Feather bonnet as well, yeah.
yeah.
Well, unfortunately, that was one of the reasons for the split, was that we were playing at Expo 74 in Spokane, the band, and we had I think there was 4 girls in those days that played pipes as well as danced. And we were in full uniforms then, and it must have been, I'm going to say, close to 100 degrees. And we stood and played in that heat, and it was a killer. And then with the girls having to dance, the parents didn't want them to dance afterwards. They danced, and then when they finished, we were going to play. And they didn't want the girls to play in the band and the concert because they had just finished this other. I don't know whether they would have made it or not, but unfortunately it got to be a bit of a shouting match because one person had one idea, the mothers had a different idea, and there was nobody to mediate the situation, and it got out of hand. And when Bram came back, he just didn't need that kind of flack, so he quit. He quit the trail band and decided to form his own band. But yeah, they have been very, very warm.
So why did the trail band have the big hats and the Rossland big band just had?
It's just a preference.
Yeah.
The trail band goes back way, when did they start?
1923.
Yeah. And that uniform they wear is supposed to be
The full military.
a copy of a military uniform.
Scots Guards is what the
Scots
model of
Guards
that
or any
is.
Highland, British
And it
Army,
does make,
Highland
Where-
regiment.
Where Bram wanted, when
And the thing is, if you go to Scotland and go to a Highland game in Scotland, you won't see that uniform anywhere. Nobody wears, other than a military
band.
band.
yeah, most of
And
them
even
changed.
them, that's number one dress for when it's an important occasion, and normally you don't see that uniform ever. So that's the thing, it's a military uniform, so.
But there's a lot of weight there, and all pure
A lot of wool there, for sure.
All wool, yeah. So when you've got your tunic on and your kilt and your waist belt and everything cinched in and your plaid, and then put that feather bonnet on your head, there's not an awful lot of space breathing.
It was also, what was it? It was like a cape or something.
Plaid.
The
Plaid,
blade.
Yeah, that's it. Right?
yeah.
So did you wear also a waistcoat and then a coat on top, or?
No, we never did get the waistcoats, Peter. Talked about it a lot, especially in the last few years, but then, we'd gone to white shirt and tie and not wear our full uniform when it's really hot. And especially as you get older, it gets a little bit more difficult.
And what about shoes? Did you guys all, I look and some of the shoes look the same. Did you have exactly the same? No.
Black shoes, had to wear black shoes.
But you had socks that had
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was part of the uniform, yeah. Your hose
Yeah.
and your flashing, and, yeah.
Those, the fancy shoes are called what? Gilly
Gilly
brogues?
brogues, yeah.
Gilly brogues. Some of them wore them and some of them don't.
And you had ruffled shirts that had,
Yeah,
they had white ruffled.
that one with the Prince Charlie jacket, that was actually a formal, that's a Prince Charlie jacket, right?
Great.
It's like a formal jacket.
So you had that, you also had a waistcoat or something?
Correct.
Yeah.
It went with that, yeah.
We kind of got that later, I think. We got the kilts and
Got the kilts
And
first,
then-
yeah.
I think we just had just regular shirts, just white shirts, and then I think we got the
Philly ones?
and then the waistcoat
Yeah.
and then the jacket.
I believe you're right, Peter, because when that lady came to get the uniform from me, I only had the kilt and the waistband and the hose. There was I didn't have a jacket.
the
or
jackets,
a,
right.
I think we acquired
Vest.
it when we got money, so money would gradually come in. And
Yeah,
it was pointed out. We didn't pay for it; it was paid for us.
And that's, there you go again, with that's like a formal jacket, right? You don't see that anymore either in pipe bands, it's a different style of jacket. The odd band still wears that, but not many.
must be climate change that changed all to
Well,
lighter weight uniforms.
Money, I think, mostly.
Well, yeah, that too.
Yep.
Yeah, because they're very expensive. You take a uniform like trail wears, it's a lot of money tied up in one uniform.
They used to be handmade. I think they came from Scotland. Weren't they handmade or?
Pretty much still do.
Yep. Yeah.
And what about the pipes? I think there was a Peter's was $235 or something.
Oh yeah, there's a huge variety of pipes.
Yeah, but now they're probably, I don't know.
Well, you can buy a basic set of pipes for what, about 600?
I don't know. I don't
6 or
think you get
7?
them, yeah, with no bag or a chanter or reeds.
Oh,
Yeah, and,
maybe.
and I think those are plastic mounts too.
Yeah.
Shannon, not ivory, or sorry, Sean, not ivory anymore.
Well, you
There's
can't
no
buy
ivory,
ivory.
no.
You can't buy ivory.
No.
Actually, even, well, you said ivory pipes, the ivory on them is actually a deterrent now. People don't want them.
Well, you can't take your pipes across the line if they've got ivory on them.
Well, that, people
Yeah.
just don't, like antique, there's a big market for antique pipes, right, that are, but if there's ivory is a,
Yeah.
you know, wood mounts or something else other than ivory. What was I gonna say? I don't know how they adjust for inflation from 1970 till now, how much did you pay? Do you remember what you paid for your pipes when you first got them?
Yeah, mine were second hand and I
Oh,
paid
they're secondhand.
$80 for them, 1962, and I got 5 or 6 books of music with it. I bought mine from Joe Furiak,
Oh,
Oh, well,
from Joe, but they were second hand, and they're ivory mounts.
I think by the 70s, they were about $300
probably.
pipes.
Yeah, and then they went up as high as for ivory mounts. I think they were over $2,000,
Yeah.
$2,500.
I bought mine from a fellow that was working with my mom at Booty's ski shop, and they were ivory pipes. And I think my mom and dad paid $175 for them, and
Yeah,
that
that's-
would have been, 72.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
now,
a really good set of silver and ivory pipes now, you'd be looking at about $6,000.
yeah.
Yeah.
My sister actually, who lives in Montreal, she came to Calgary, and she somehow bumped into. So there was a store or shop in Calgary, Haas Imports, and they supplied pipes, etc. And I saw them on that sheet there too. And so the parents, I think they passed away or moved on, and the children, who are probably in their 50s, maybe 60s now, they own it. And my sister inquired about the cost of pipes, and I recall something about $5,000 to $8,000.
Yeah, that'd be high, like,
But you know, that might be sort of a high end.
That's
pipe.
probably,
that's pretty high.
probably
That's-
silver
that's-
mounts and,
yeah, that would be high, because at Tartantown in Vancouver and in Island Pipes, you can still buy like brand new pipes for $1,200.
So how much would
Yeah,
a
but
chanter
you
be?
can read the fine print, those
Well,
are
there's,
just
again,
drills, that's it.
huge variety. If you want
You
a
can spend another
starter practice chanter, probably maybe $150, $200. If you want something that's decent, you're paying around $1,000. Yeah,
So when you got your chanter from Ian Christensen,
that was my practice chanter. Yeah,
your practice chanter, did that come from Scotland?
Yep.
Did Janet bring it over with her?
I believe so, but I
Really?
don't know.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Well, everything came from
it's a
Scotland.
yeah, it's a
Everything was
Robertson
imported.
chanter, so it was made in Scotland.
Either a Laurie or a Hardy,
Yeah.
one or the other.
Well, mine was Robertson.
Yours
my practice
Robertson's?
You
chanter.
got a Robertson practice center?
Yeah.
my pipes are Robertsons.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they're good pipes.
Well, you got yours, yeah. It's funny, you can go through the vintage of the player and see who was importing what pipes for the older guys.
Thank
Marie and Freddie and I think Donnie, they got the Robertson brand pipes. That's what the band was getting in at them. And when my age group hit, it was Hardy's.
Hardy's,
We
yes.
all had Hardy pipes.
Yeah,
And that's what the majority of the Rossland pipers had, is Hardy pipes
Hardy's.
that were, and yeah, like you say, how much did you pay, Peter? $175 or $200?
I don't know, because I had two pairs, 2 sets. My father somehow got a second set, they were used, and I just don't recall how that came about.
But I remember reading, there was quite a bit of correspondence about those pipes because they cracked somehow,
Yeah, wood.
Yeah, the stocks cracked.
Yeah.
Wood.
yeah. So a lot of them, when they,
Moisture and
because they,
drying,
I
and
think they
moisture and
ordered
drying.
7 or 8 bagpipes at the same time from, it was a Scottish importer in Edmonton. And then there was lots of back and forth because a lot of them, I don't know,
Yeah, it's-
reeds, something was cracked.
You know that section
The
actually?
stalks.
Yeah, the
Go into the
stalks.
bag.
So
Or
we-
go into the bag.
Yeah,
They crack.
there's a section of wood, round wood, that went between the bag and the drone, which are stalks, and it would crack in there, right down to the center actually.
Yeah, my pipes too. I've got 2 bad cracks.
Have you? Mine
Cause
cracked.
you don't play them, that's
Well,
why.
it's because I played them and then quit, and then played them and then quit. We played them and
Never had
then
a
quit.
crack. Never once have I had practice center tops or anything, never had a crack.
Yeah, my practice channel cracked. I had a bad crack and I had it sealed. In those days, if you were at Kaminko and knew the right people, you just
Get
said,
anything
this is my
fixed.
problem, and they fixed it.
So how often do you have to replace the bag, or can you?
Every couple of years, yeah.
If you're playing lots, maybe every 5 years with the real bags, but these new bags now that they make, you
Yeah.
never.
They're kind of going away now.
Yeah.
Not many people using those Cortex bags.
No?
Is your bag got the zipper on it now, or you have a zipper bag?
Zipper cowhide, custom made, you name her. Fits
Oh,
me like a glove.
must be nice.
How often do you play?
Well, I don't play my pipe once a week. Play my pipe. Play my practice center about an hour a day, every day.
And you?
And I have a music writing program on the computer. Just
I don't play as often as I should. I go to practice, band practice Mondays, chanter practice Wednesdays, and sometimes I don't play very much in between unless I have a new tune to learn or we're learning new tunes. Then I'll work at it, but as I've gotten older, I play less and less. I'll play with anybody. I prefer to play with a partner. It's much nicer than sitting there playing by yourself, at least in my estimation anyway.
Are you still teaching, Shannon?
If I had a student, I'd be teaching, yeah.
Did you teach?
No, I didn't. No.
And Shawn, you didn't? No.
Had a young girl that's playing side drum in the trail band. Her mom phoned me up here a couple of years ago to teach her chanter. We got her going. She was doing fantastic.
Grace.
Young Grace, yeah.
Yes. She's very talented. Very
She
talented.
had the health issues and got sidetracked, and it kind of fell by went down the list in priorities. And I haven't seen her for quite a while, but she was doing really well.
Yeah, that's what I heard. Unfortunately, you know, if they start at like 10 or 11 or 12 in that area, they're really gung-ho. When they get to be 16, start in the teens like that, you see that interest starts to wane a little bit. And that's when they really need, you know, you need to keep them if you can.
You gotta learn young too. Adult learners are just
Terrible.
hard. They're just hard.
I think
It's hard for them, and it's hard to. It's just difficult.
Yeah, if they're not really keen, it's difficult.
There's a learning curve to it. I think you expect to go on the pipes for a while. I got it right from the get-go, but you're on chanter for a year,
Yeah,
or more.
you're right, Peter, yeah.
And so because, and I don't know if there's that attitude today to spend time learning something.
Yeah, if they can't pick it up and play it in a week or two, couple weeks, they just kind of push it aside and pick something else.
It's got to be simple.
But it takes dedication. Takes,
Of all the places that you went as a band, is there anything that stands out that you really remember, you know, that when you were in Kimberley or New Denver, or was there one specific time that?
Well, I remember, like I said earlier, remember waiting for the Kimberley band to start because the pipe major of the Triumph Street band had got thrown in jail the night before, and they were trying to get him out of jail so they could stuff like that. I was probably 17 or 18 at the time, so I was thinking, well, geez, I wish I would have been with them.
I remember. I don't know if I should tell the story or not. It was pre-Golden City Pipe Band. It was when Brown was running the trail band. But I think we were in Orofino, Idaho. It's either Orofino, Idaho or Libby, one or the other. And we got off the bus, and all the older fellas in the band, they were, I think it had to be in Orofino. It was like a Wild West town. And all the older guys, they were going to the pub. They'd play in the pub, then they'd sit and drink, and they'd go to the next pub. So there was myself, Jay McKitten, and Kenny Jerome, the three of us. And Tom Still might have been there too, I'm not sure. But we were standing out, so we can't go in the bar, right? So we go in and play with the guys, and then when they're done playing, okay, get out, you guys. Stand out front, we'll have our beer and all that. You guys wait till we're done, and then we'll... So some local character in Orofino, saw this going on, and he said, come on with me, you guys. Well, come down on the corner and play some tunes on the corner. So we're standing around playing on the corner of this little main drag of this little dusty little town. And this character's got a hat, and he collecting money. And so we're moving around here and there and all that. We go up and down the street and we're playing on the corners and all that. This character's collecting money. He says, okay, let's go in here, you guys, into this place, and we'll play in here. So we go in this place, and it kind of looks like a hotel lobby. Kind of a combination between a hotel lobby and a bar or a restaurant. There's a bar along one side, and quite open space. So we play a few tunes around in there and all that. And this guy's got this hat full of money, so come on, we'll have a pop. So we're sitting at the counter having pop. This is many, many years ago, but I can remember it. We're sitting at this counter drinking pop, and there's a lady behind the bar, and there's ladies over there. In comes Bram. What are you guys doing? We're drinking pop, and we're doing the playing outside. Were you there? No. We're playing, and he says, come on with me right now. Well, we'll finish our pop and all that, and this character, he disappears with the hat full of money. He's gone. So Brian says, come on, right now. We're out of here. Let's go. So, and it was many, many years later, the Brian said, you guys realize where you were sitting, right? You know where you were? No. You were in a bloody brothel. You were sitting in the front. No, we didn't know that. We were sitting in the brothel.
Don't tell your mom and dad.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's what Bram was thinking. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, I was very fortunate because I played at Expo 74 in Spokane, and then again at Expo 86 in Vancouver. So, you know, and they treated us very well. We were very well received. Excuse me, especially in Spokane, because they don't see many pipe bands. And then even in Vancouver, with all the pipe bands and that down there, our band was very well received. It's been, you know, we got to meet a lot of people over the years. I met Tom Foley, who was third in the United States, next to the president and vice president in Ione, Washington. And very personable individual, and yeah, so there's lots of experiences. I'm sure that all of us could sit down and tell some real stories, like Shannon said. It's been a wonderful experience to play. I never regretted learning to play the pipes, not 1 minute. I only wish that I would have put more time into it and become a better player, but it is what it is.
It takes a lot of work to do, a lot of dedication, and life gets in the way, right? Have you guys got anything else that you want to add?
Well, Brad was a real inspiration to me, because he gave me a gift years ago that I didn't appreciate until later on, but he was a wonderful man, wonderful player.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was a really super
Well,
nice guy.
I mean, from my perspective, there's way more to piping than putting on a uniform and marching on the street in a parade. That's like a fraction of what piping really is. It's nothing to do with that, really. It's piping, it's music. It really is. And it's pretty rare that you actually hear good piping music played properly. It's probably a rare thing. And Bram did it.
yes, yeah, he was a very good player.
Well, I think Remembrance Day is what gets me, because when you're at the cenotaph and you hear those pipes, it really just tugs at everything inside you. I think the pipe music does that. And I mean, I used to dance too, Highland dance.
Did you go on to Katie? Did you?
No, not to Katie. I went to Sadie Stevens.
Oh.
Yeah, she taught the Rossland people. Because I couldn't get to trail, there wasn't a bus. You were hitchhiking down the hill.
One of the interesting aspects of pipe music too, you know, it was in common time signatures, 4/4 in most of the marches. But what was peak rock? It didn't have a time signature.
Didn't have a time
It
signature.
doesn't have a time signature.
That's one thing you can't learn off of, like a 6/8 march or a 4/4 march or Strasbourg or whatever. You can learn it off the sheet music. P-rock is another thing. You can't learn it off the sheet music. There's nuances and expression that
Expressions.
you have to have somebody that knows how it goes. It's like, like learning by ear almost. They have a system that they've developed over hundreds of years. It's called cantoric, and for the notes and the movements, there's vocables, like whole row deep, like a scale almost. But it's like a spoken language or sung language, I guess, for
That's
the
right.
music. And it's a whole other subject all by itself.
So
Bram
how-
used to do a little bit. He could sing it too.
Who's that,
Bram
Brad?
could
Yeah.
sing a little,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how did you play?
Just a little bit. Yeah.
Was it just practicing, or did you play it when you were in the whole band?
No, it's a solo
It's
thing.
a
solo.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would classify it as what, classical bagpipe?
Classical music of the bagpipe,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's a really old form. And yes,
I have Bram's Kilberry book of Pibroch at home. One of the few keepsakes I've got of Bram. I got his Kilberry book. I don't even know how I got it, but I ended up with it, so I kept it.
So it is a unique form of music.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.